Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name's Lee. You're watching Dark Roots Creations, and this is my top 5 hearts recommendations. So I know most people either love or hate Valentine's Day. You know, the romantic side of it. You know, there's all different types of love, but I think that's what Valentine's Day is based on. I'm not always mushy, so I decided that I was going to pick top 5 focusing on books with hearts on the cover, either the word or a visual. My rules were I had to have read the book and it couldn't be part of a series. So here's the 5 that I came up with. They're a little different, so maybe that'll pique your interest, and let's get started. Okay, so the first one we are starting off with is a romance book. However, she doesn't write necessarily happy romance, so there's always some sort of problem or like negative relationship type of thing. So this one is going to be Heartbones by Colleen Hoover. Life and a dismal last name are the only 2 things Bea Grimm's parents ever gave her. After carving a path all on her own, Bea is well on her way to bigger and better things, thanks to no one but herself. With only 2 short months separating her from the future she's built and the past she desperately wants to leave behind, an unexpected death leaves Bea with no place to go in the interim. Forced to reach out to her last resort, Bea has to spend the remainder of her summer on a peninsula in Texas with a father she barely knows. Bea's plan is to keep her head down and let the summer slip by seamlessly, but her new neighbor Samson throws a wrench into that plan. Samson and Bea have nothing in common on the surface. She comes from a life of poverty and neglect. He comes from a family of wealth and privilege. But one thing they do have in common is that they're both drawn to sad things, which means they're drawn to each other. With an almost immediate connection too intense for them to continue denying, Bea and Samson agree to stay in the shallow end of a summer fling. What Bea doesn't realize is that a rip current is coming, and it's about to drag her heart out to sea. Again, this is a romance. I will say I remember crying during this one. Again, because they're not always that positive of relationships. Quite a few secrets in this one. If you're into that, this might be the book for you. Okay, next up is a historical fiction coming-of-age Southern story, and this is Only Love Can Break Your Heart by Ed Tarkington. Welcome to Spencerville, Virginia, 1977. 8-year-old Rocky worships his older brother, Paul. 16 and full of rebel cool, Paul spends his days cruising with his Chevy Nova, blasting Neil Young, cigarette dangling from his lips, arms slung around his beautiful, troubled girlfriend. Paul is happy to have his younger brother as his sidekick. Then one day, in an act of vengeance against his father, Paul picks up Rocky from school and nearly abandons him in the woods. Afterward, Paul disappears. 7 years later, Rocky is a teenager himself. He hasn't forgotten about being abandoned by his boyhood hero, but he's getting over it with the help of a wealthy neighbor's daughter, 10 years his senior, who has taken him as a lover. Unbeknownst to both of them, their affair will set in motion a course of events that rains catastrophe on both their families. After a mysterious double murder brings terror and suspicion to their small town, Rocky and his family must reckon with the past and find out how much forgiveness their hearts can hold. Normally, I wouldn't have read this one, but this is the great part about book clubs is you get introduced to books you normally wouldn't have picked up. I normally don't like historical fiction or coming-of-age type of books, but this one was excellent. If I didn't say, I gave Heartbones 5 stars, and I also gave this one 5 stars. Okay, next is a paranormal, thriller, supernatural horror book. This is A Good and Useful Hurt by Eric Davis. Mike is a tattoo artist running his own shop, and Deb is the piercing artist he hires to round out the motley crew at his studio of 4. The last thing either expects is romance, but that's exactly what happens when they follow their off-kilter careers and love lives into complete disaster. When Mike follows a growing trend and tattoos the ashes of deceased loved ones into several customers' tattoos, he has no idea that it will one day provide the solution and solace he will sorely need. And when the life of a serial killer tragically collides with the lives of those in the tattoo shop, Mike and Deb will stop at nothing in their quest for revenge, even if it means stepping outside the known boundaries of life and death. Ink that is full of crematory ashes, a sociopath killer, and a pain in its most raw form combine for one of the most imaginative, haunting thrillers in recent memory. Full of wit and heart, A Good and Useful Hurt delivers the goods with the pain of a needle in skin. Again, this is not the type of normal book I would read. A coworker years ago recommended Eric Davis to me, and I have just really enjoyed the stories. I find a lot of them to be unique and different. They are on the horror side. Maybe there's just like a little bit of a different, unique thing to each one. I've for the majority, I've enjoyed most of them. I know that Eric Davis is or was a piercer somewhere in Michigan, and then started writing. And I was so glad that I was introduced to him because he's still like very indie author. So if you're into that as well, you might really enjoy this one. Again, 5 stars. Okay, next, again, a little bit different, totally different genre. This is a fiction, self-help, Christian, personal growth development book. This is Kind is the New Classy by Candace Cameron Bure. As a woman in today's world, you know what it's like to feel pressure on all sides from clashing cultural expectations. How can you stay true to who God has uniquely created you to be in the face of the script you've been given? What's more, how can you stand your ground with grace? The classy confidence you know and love, whether it's on the set of Full House, Fuller House, Dancing with the Stars, The View, or your favorite Hallmark movies, is no act. But it hasn't come easily. Candace's secret? Kindness. It's timeless, unexpected, and even countercultural, and best of all, it never goes out of style. Whether you're navigating major life choices, questions of calling and career, relationships, or personal goals, this book will show you how to keep your cool under pressure, respond to criticism with grace, stay grounded but still go places in life, stay true to who you are despite the expectations of others, and stay centered in what ultimately matters most. Let this book help you say goodbye to society's shoulds and find a new way to shine. I know not everybody's going to like Candace. That's fine. I do think especially when she was on The View, she was the outcast of opinions, I guess. She was the one with the different opinion. She was there to be the conservative Christian view. And I think with the other people on that show, that was probably very hard. I have seen in interviews where she has said things to that effect. So I thought there were a lot of good tips in here. If nothing else, just a reminder to be kind. That is the classier way to go. And this is just me saying this, to always remember that you want people to respect your opinions and your beliefs. You should do the same to others. So I gave this one 4 stars, and I still think it was a pretty good read. And you know I wasn't going to leave off this list without just a straight up thriller. This I would consider suspense thriller, very intense. I think this was the first book I read by her, and I absolutely loved it. This is Jar of Hearts by Jennifer Hillier. This is the story of 3 best friends. One who was murdered, one who went to prison, and one who's been searching for the truth all these years. When she was 16 years old, Angela Wong, one of the most popular girls in school, disappeared without a trace. Nobody ever suspected that her best friend, Georgina Shaw, now an exclusive and rising star at her Seattle pharmaceutical company, was involved in any way. Certainly not Kaiser Brody, who was close with both girls back in high school. But 14 years later, Angela Wong's remains are discovered in the woods near Gio's childhood home. And Kaiser, now a detective with Seattle PD, finally learns the truth. Angela was a victim of Calvin James, the same Calvin James who murdered at least 3 other women. To the authorities, Calvin is a serial killer, but to Gio, he's something else entirely. Back in high school, Calvin was Gio's first love. Turbulent and often volatile, their relationship bordered on obsession from the moment they met right up until the night Angela was killed. While everyone thinks they finally know the truth, there are dark secrets buried deep. And what happened that fateful night is more complex and more chilling than anyone knows. Now the obsessive past catches up with the deadly present when new bodies begin to turn up, killed in the exact same manner as Angela Wong. How far will someone go to bury her secrets and hide her grief? How long can you get away with a lie? How long can you live with it? Even just reading that reminded me of how good this book was. Oh, this was just, like I said, the first book I read by her, 5 stars. I was hooked on her writing immediately. So, I mean, if any of these, I absolutely recommend this one. So that's it. That's my top 5 Hearts books. I hope you found this interesting. If you've read any of these, let me know. I would love to talk about any of them. If not, and you're interested, please let me know that as well. And another thought, if you want to let me know, is what is your favorite book with hearts in the title or on the cover? Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Your support means a lot to me, and I love connecting with our amazing community. If you enjoy my content, please like and subscribe to stay updated with my latest videos. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.